All right. Good evening, everybody. I hope that you can hear me. I'm just going to ask, I see Allie there. Thanks for putting your camera on. Maybe you can just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Amazing. Thank you. And so we are just waiting for a few more people, I think, to get going. But thanks for spending your evening with us here. What I can promise you is that we are going to stay on time. So this information session will be a half an hour in length. And then starting at 6 o'clock, we have finance joining us. They're going to talk about entrance awards and how to finance your MBA. So that's a really important topic. And so hopefully you can stick around for that. But just to let you know, you don't need to log back in order to access it. It's all going to run as one continuous session. So hopefully that is helpful to you. Just while we're waiting for a couple of other people to join us, what I would say is make sure you grab a pen or paper, maybe a coffee or something to eat. I'm sure you've had a busy day, and then we'll get started. So I think I'll get started now. Usually the second I start talking, a bunch of other people join us. My name is Angela Forster. I have the great pleasure of working with the Rotman morning and evening program. And it is my favorite program here at Rotman, mostly because I get to work with emerging leaders such as yourself. Earlier today, we had the pleasure of hosting a panel with a bunch of our students. Hopefully you got a chance to check that out. And it's always interesting for me to see, where they start in their career, and then as they're moving through their Rotman degree, what the changes are that they're making. And then again, as they go off and become alumni, even more changes take place. And so just before I go on about what we're going to talk about tonight, just a little bit of a heads up that we do have an alumni panel taking place tomorrow evening in and about this same time. So if you didn't catch the students earlier today, it might be interesting for you to come and listen to tomorrow night. We've got some fabulous speakers that are going to be talking about what Rotman did for them and where they are now. And it's a great networking opportunity as well. All right, fantastic. So I have over 20 years of work experience, just to kind of let you know a little bit about me. I've worked in all sorts of different backgrounds. One of my very favorite industries is tech. And so you'll hear me talk a little bit about that. But really, I've had my hand in all sorts of different industries. So no matter where you're coming from, I can usually relate to you in some way, shape, or form. And hopefully that is a little bit helpful as someone who's guiding you through the application process. The agenda tonight, we're going to talk about why you might want to choose the morning and evening MBA program, and specifically why Rotman. There's a lot of different programs out there now. And so, why would you choose one program over the other? We're going to be talking about that a little bit tonight as well. We're going to talk about admission criteria. I go into more detail about that tomorrow at 12:30. There's going to be how to ace your application webinar. So if you're interested in that, please feel free to join me at that time. And we'll be sending out some information on that after this session. Again, tuition and fees and financial aid. I'm not going to touch on that too much during this half hour because May King is going to be joining us at 6:30 to talk all about that. And then we're going to talk about what's up with the second deadline, what the offer is there, and then application process and next steps. So that's what we're going to be covering off in the next half hour. If you do have any questions as we go, I really do appreciate them. What I would ask though is that maybe you write them down, and I'm happy to open up the floor to any questions after I've done my presentation. So I'll make sure that I leave some time for that. All right, so what is the morning and evening MBA anyway? It really is a sister program to the full-time program here at Rotman. Full-time being a 2-year full-time program that does require you to leave your job and go back to school, whereas the morning and evening MBA program is really designed for people that are living and working in the Greater Toronto area and want to get an MBA, but don't really want to leave their job while they are pursuing an MBA. It is one intake per year, so it starts every August, and the program runs Tuesdays and Thursday mornings or evening. So morning is 7 to 9, and evening is 6:30 to 8:30. And it really is a cohort-based program. And so what that means is you're moving through with all of your classmates in at least the first half of the program. So it is for people that are that maybe have gotten to a certain point in their career and they're looking to move up, or they're looking to take the time to think about what else they might want to do and transition into something else. And because of the length of this program, it really does give you that opportunity to maybe try on some other shoes, see if they fit, and then move off into a different direction. And we've had quite a number of students do that, and we had them on our panel both yesterday and today, talking about where they started and where they are now. So if you are interested in that, we could maybe connect you with someone who has made a shift. Okay, so what does the cohort look like and what does that really mean? So we have about 60 to 70 students in the evening and the same amount in the morning class. So all in, there's about 140 students. Now, this is a big number, and you might think, well, I might get lost in the crowd, and that is simply not the case. We do a lot of small and select teamwork. Everybody is going to know your name, and there's a lot of, because of the size of the class, you kind of get the benefits of both worlds. So it's a small group environment, but then you have a lot of students in your class. And so your ability to network with that many people is also very, very important. I have worked for other schools before, and I know from my past experience that a lot of people come into an MBA thinking, okay, I have a spreadsheet. I want to know how fast I can get it done, how much it's going to cost, and maybe those are the biggest factors that they're looking at. One thing I would recommend to you from my experience in talking to alumni from different programs is that networking piece is so important. So what is the size of the network that you're going to leave the program with? And what is the caliber of the network that you're going to leave the program with? So that really is something that distinguishes this program from others that are out there. So with 140 students in the class, as you move through your Rotman experience in the morning and evening program, you're going to get to know about 600 students that you didn't know before. And they're all looking to move up in the world just like you are. And they're all there in a very, very supportive and team environment. And that's one thing we heard actually just today was, when you think about an MBA, sometimes you can hear it's a little bit combative and people are trying to vie for the top spot. And that's just not the case here. People are very, very helpful. They really believe in collaborative work environment, and that is just shown through the caliber of our students. The other thing that is a little bit different about this program, say even versus the full-time program, is that it is an immersive experience that provides you with immediate application. So whereas the Rotman full-time program, you are learning for 2 years and it's a little bit abstract, the morning and evening program, you're learning in the morning and then you're able to apply it directly to your work. If you're in the evening program, then vice versa. And if you're like me, that's actually the way that I learn. Everybody is different, of course, but I always find that being able to apply what you're learning can really help you absorb that information and put it to the test, right? Maybe you're going through negotiations at work, and so taking that course can really help you with that. And then you can come back if something doesn't work out, or if you have an inquiry about a certain aspect of it. And time again, I hear from our students that that is just, it's almost like a superpower that they have, right? You think of going through an MBA, it's a little bit like, oh, I have to get it done. But I urge you to think about it a little bit differently, in that it really is there and designed to help you in your work. So it's going to propel you forward. It's going to encourage you to think differently. It's going to give you new ideas that are going to make you seem like that superhero at work. And so this is actually the way that the program is designed. So there are two halves to the program. Like I said, the first half is the cohort-based program. You're moving through with everybody going through the same courses. The reason for that is, well, there's a few reasons for that. One of them is not everybody's coming from a business background. And so we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to try on some different hats and get a sense of what it is that you might be interested in for the second half of the program, which is where you can choose a major, like a customization or a specialization. And so there are other programs out there where they tout having that flexibility right from the beginning. But that's a problem for a couple of reasons. So the first reason is, Ali and I might be in our first class together, and then we might never see each other again. If you've got that flexibility from the beginning, there's not that opportunity to really bond with your cohort. And time and again, we actually ask for feedback from our students on a reoccurring basis. And this is actually the format that they have agreed makes the most sense. It really allows you that time to feel connected with your classmates, to create those bonds, and also try on those different hats. So by the time it comes for you to choose a specialization, you have a better sense of what it is that you might want to do. And then as you're moving through the years, like I said, there is some crossover with full-time when you hit the electives. So we're looking at about 600 people that you didn't know before that are new, a new part of your network. All right, so far we've really talked about the foundation of the program, but outside of that, there is really so much more. So one of the things that differentiates Rotman from its competitors are some of these other opportunities, like the self-development lab. Last night we hosted an event with Maya Dichik. She talked all about the fact that the self-development lab is there for you as a Rotman student. It's not available anywhere else. And it's a very scientific approach to providing you with feedback that is very, very personal. And so maybe, there's something that you're doing that makes you come across not quite as powerful or as a leader as it could be. And I always start to sit up taller whenever I'm talking about the self-development lab. But it's a fabulous opportunity available in your first year, and really there for you to learn how to also accept feedback from your team. So we've all seen leaders out there who go out in the world and have stopped listening to their team. And so you don't want to be one of those people. And so Maya is, that's one of her mandates, is to make sure that you are able to create a team environment where people feel comfortable providing you with feedback. But she also provides you with feedback on your communication and leadership style as well. The other lab we have that we hosted a session on this week is the Creative Destruction Lab. So if we have any entrepreneurs or people in tech in the house, this is a fabulous opportunity for you to look into. Basically, you get to work with a seed stage company in all sorts of different streams like space or AI, and you get to help them get a business off the ground. It's a really fabulous opportunity with just incredible networking chances. Like Chris Hatfield is one of the fellows who helps run our space stream. And so you often will see him in the building, or you'll be in a room with him if you're in that space stream working with the Creative Destruction Lab. There's also the Business Design Initiative, and then we have our two trading labs. We have a trading lab and the Analytics Lab, which is our newest one. So that's just a little bit of outside of the classroom. But beyond that, again, there's so much more that you can take advantage of. So today we talked with a bunch of our students who are involved in clubs and case competitions. If you have an interest, we likely have a club for you. If we don't, you're more than welcome to start your own. A lot of those clubs host some of the major events that you see around campus every year, and then case competitions as well, which are a very important tool for you to use while you're at Rotman. They can sound like, they're just for fun or what have you, but really it's a fabulous way for you to get in front of industry experts, to perhaps, network in an area that you maybe are interested in. And in some cases, like the Kearney case competition, the first prize is actually first round interviews with the company. So it can be more than just for fun. It's a great way to test out your skills, but also to help build that network and help try to find that next role for you. And then we do have the global exchanges and study tours. These are available in your third year. So fingers crossed by your third year, all of these things will be back in play. The global exchange is where you do a semester abroad, and the study tour is where you do 2 weeks and you get 1 credit for that. All right. We also spoke to Career Services earlier today. There was a great presentation by 2 of our lovely ladies in Career Services. And basically, they spoke about the fact that there's sort of 2 streams for Career Services. One are generalists, and the other are industry experts. So the generalists would be there to support you if you're looking to, I don't know, if you've got an interview coming up, or you want to learn how to negotiate your salary. Whereas the industry experts are there really to talk to you about what you need if you're going to be moving into a different area than the one that you're in right now, or even if you want to move up in your current industry. So career services are there. And what I would say here as well is for the morning and evening program specifically, I know a lot of people, again, when you're coming into an MBA program, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to graduate and then I'm going to get a new job. That has not been our experience. So on average, the students in the morning and evening program will see 2 shifts in their job while they are in the program. And we saw that earlier today with our student panel. Every single one of them that was on the panel were still in the program and had already made a shift into something new or had been promoted. And some of them were quite significant shifts. So just keep that in mind. It's not something that happens after the fact. It's something that's going to happen while you're in the program with us. So why Rotman? We talked about, there are a lot of different programs out there. Why would you want to consider Rotman over some of those other programs? When I was, coming up in my years, you didn't necessarily need an MBA to get to the director level or management level. But more and more these days, I'm sure as you've seen out there, the MBA is a requirement for that next level, for that management type role. And so when more and more people have MBAs, what is it that differentiates you from other people that are sitting in the waiting room before an interview with you? And really, it is a brand. So having that globally recognized brand of U of T, of Rotman that you can take with you wherever you go in the world is very, very important. So you can take it with you. It is a very global MBA. And then beyond that, we do have top ranked faculty. So you really are learning about cutting edge research. And the faculty are not only extremely bright and very, very well renowned, but they're also super nice. They really go out of their way for our students, and I can't say enough good things about them. They really are fabulous folks. And I've seen them really help out our students in terms of their networking opportunities. Some of them have led to jobs as well through the faculty. And then we have a leadership development practicum as well that's available for the morning and evening program. Basically, this looks at you as a leader and where do you want to be in 10 years and how do we help build the bridge to get you there. It is a complete MBA experience. So I'll go back to, it's not just about what's in the classroom, it's also about all of the experiences outside of the classroom. And then of course, I'll go back to the network size. So very, very important. If you don't have that on your list of things that you need coming out of an MBA, you really need to put it on there, because as you move up in your career, more and more, you are going to be dependent on that network to find that next opportunity. 82% of people in Ontario find a job through someone that they know, and that becomes more and more true as you move up in your career. All right, so what does the class look like? This is a class profile. It's actually from 2 years ago. The average age hasn't changed. It's 30. The average years of work experience is actually 7, but the range is between 2 and 20. So if you're on the call today and you're thinking, oh, like I'm too young or I'm too old, for goodness sakes, this is an average. It's not meant to do anything more than just sort of give you an idea of what the class makeup looks like. But we really value diversity in the class. And so we want people with 2 years of work experience, and we want those people with 20 years of work experience, because it really does help to make the class that more, I want to say magic, but that seems a little bit cheesy, but it helps with that diversity, and it helps with, I don't know, that special element that it brings to the class. We do have academic people coming from different academic backgrounds, different industry backgrounds, so you do not need to be coming from business to be considered for this program. The average GMAT score last year was actually around 640. The range is between 550 and 800 is the top score. We also accept GRE, and if you have a CFA3, then you do not need to write your exam. And so we'll just look really quickly now at the admission criteria. So we are looking at your undergrad. If you have a master's or a PhD, absolutely fabulous. Of course, that's going to add to your application strength, but we are looking for a mid-B or 3.0 in the final year of your undergrad, so that we can compare apples to apples. If you didn't study in English in your undergrad, you may need to write your IELTS or TOEFL. We are looking for a minimum of 2 years work experience. And you do need to be employed within the Greater Toronto area to be considered for this program. It is considered a professional MBA program. And then if you don't hear anything else I say today, the 2 professional references, if you're thinking of applying, these are super important. The admission committee is very, very particular. They are looking for people who have managed you. It can't be an uncle, cannot be a colleague or an academic reference. It really needs to be a manager. It could be a former manager. It could be your manager's manager, but definitely needs to be someone who has supervised you. And they need to state that in the form that they're going to fill out. The GMAT we're going to just talk about in just a hot minute. And then we have 2 essays as well. One is 500 words and one is 250. And then once all of those pieces are in, we invite you in for an admission interview. So just to okay, so entrance award criteria, GMAT and GRE. So you can see here, the minimum requirement to get into the program is 550, 156 on the GRE. Above a 600, we start to consider you for entrance awards. Not to say that we only look at these in terms of entrance awards. You obviously need to have a strong application as well, but just so you know, from a GMAT perspective, these are the minimums that we're looking for. And then for the distinguished awards, we're looking at 650 above and a CFA3, not and, or a CFA3. So if you have a CFA3, you do not need to write your GMAT or GRE. If you have a 650 and above, we start to consider you for a distinguished award, which is a named award. And I'm going to just skip to this now. I know that I want to leave a couple of minutes for questions if you have any. So coming up February 9th, we do have a deadline. You do not have to have written your GMAT or GRE in order to apply for that round. You actually have until the end of March to write your GMAT and still be considered for that round. And with that round, we do have a minimum of $8,000 entrance award if you get a 600 and above on your GMAT, or if you have a CFA 3, and of course, if you have a strong application. I'm going to skip over this for now because we've got May who's going to be talking about financing your MBA in just a moment. And I just wanted to let you know that we do still have some important events coming up tomorrow. We've got the understanding and preparing for the GMAT. So if you are thinking of applying for February 9th, this is a fantastic way to kick off your studies. The program tomorrow is with Kaylin Burns, who is with GMAC, which is the governing body of the GMAT exam. After that, I'm going to be hosting How to Ace Your Morning and Evening Applications. So if you're interested in applying, this is a really important one to make sure that you attend. Tomorrow night, we're hosting Numan Ashraf, who is a professor here. He's going to be doing a sample class at 6 o'clock. And at 6:30, we are going to be hosting a bunch of our alumni in a panel. And I highly recommend that you join us for that. So what I'm going to do, I know we've got maybe 4 minutes left. I'm going to open it up now. If anybody has any questions that they want to ask, feel free to raise your hand. Otherwise, I'm happy to put it back on the other slide. The other thing I wanted to say is you can definitely reach out to myself or Tara. We are doing one-on-one meetings. So if you already started to speak with Tara Grant, who is my coworker, please continue to work with her. Otherwise, I am here to, and she actually just popped up on the screen there. So you can see her. If you've been working with her, feel free to keep doing that. And if you haven't reached out to anyone yet, my email is there. You're more than welcome to reach out to me, and we're happy to set up a one-on-one call with you. All right, so if there's no questions, everybody's a bit shy tonight. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to May, who is on the list here, and I'm just going to make her a co-host. If oh, okay, she just went up to the top of the list. Here we go. 1 second. You ever find that the list jumps around a lot for me? All right, there we go. So I've made a few
more people joining, Angela. So if we want to,
yep, okay. We do have a few more people joining. So maybe we'll just what I'm going to do is I go back a slide. And like I said, we will be sending out a follow-up email after this session. So with information on how to register for these different sessions. Tomorrow night in the alumni panel, we have the COO of the TSX, and there's another initial in there now, which I cannot remember. I think it's TSX. And so she's going to be joining us. We've got the chief strategy officer of a wine company coming. So there's going to be a lot of wonderful alumni there for you to mix and mingle with. And we encourage you to bring your questions as well for that session. All right, so I know we're like a minute early, but I think what I will do is just, we've got some people coming in. I'm going to hand it over to May. I know she's got a lot of material to cover off. So she's going to be talking to us all about financing your MBA, the ins and outs of all of that, and providing you with all sorts of information about where to find award money and different pools that you can pull from in order to help finance your MBA. And we're so thrilled to have you here tonight, May. It's so great to see you. It's been a long time. I think both of our hair is looking quite different than it did the last time.
I do not look like my picture anymore. That's put together, and
I'm the same.
It's long and unruly. Thank you.
It looks lovely. I love the long hair. That's great.
Why,
Um,
thank you.
So over to you, May. I'm gonna just let you go ahead and introduce yourself, and I can just let me know when you want me to move the slide forward.
I was just going to ask, are you controlling it or am I?
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Welcome everybody. I'm excited to be here and thank you for inviting me to this session and allowing me to speak on my favorite Rotman topic of student finances. So I am the Assistant Director of the Student Financial Services. I am part of the Registrar's Office. So we handle all your academic and registrarial kind of portfolio while you're in school. So everything that has to do with course enrollments and your grades and maybe less fun stuff later on, policies and procedures, that's us. And skip forward, please. Great. So I'm sure first question most people have are, how much is this going to cost me? Right now, what we have posted is the class of 2024. So these are the students who started just this past September, who are in their first year now. What's listed here are the tuition fees. So most of you will be domestic students, roughly about 93K. And then internationals do have a higher fees structure. Now, I'm only listing this year's tuition now. We don't have your cohort's tuitions posted anywhere yet. And that is because U of T kind of approves those every year. It's done around May, and then they're released in July once we get the invoices. Now, on top of this, if you could just click, Angela, there are the non-tuition fees. So the university incidentals, those are things like the whole university student services, library services, our graduate business council fees, as well as athletics and the university-wide services that our students are eligible to participate in, as well as the specific Rotman ancillary fees, which covers in year 1 and half of year 2 your core course material. Once you get into the elective phases, if there are additional materials, you will need to pay out of pocket for those, a little bit more in our next slide. And then for international students, there's a university health insurance plan that is mandatory. It's the equivalent to our OHIP. Instead of Ontario, it's the university. It's just brokered through us. And that is about $720 each year. So as mentioned, the fees are set annually by U of T and subject to change. And then you guys know as soon as we do. Unfortunately, I don't get a heads up notice about what the final fees are until mid-July, and when I start checking those invoices when they get released on Acorn. Now, even though you're charged annually, so year 1, year 2, year 3, they're paid out in 2 installments. And U of T has different term names than Rotman uses. So fall term for September to December, and then winter term for January to April. We call that spring term, but the rest of the university calls that winter term. So you're taking the first year fees of $30,000 approximately. You're going to split that in half. With all the other things wrapped in, it's about $17,000 due in September, and then another $17,000 due for your winter fees. Now, your program, and most programs at U of T, we run 12 months of the year. So you're still registered for the summer term, which is May to August. However, the fees, although cover you for that period, won't show up on your invoice. A little bit confusing that we need to wrap our head on. We're charged and paid only fall and winter, and then summer, it's tacked in there. We just divide it by 2 instead of 3. Next slide. So what I mentioned for additional expenses on top of your tuition and university fees, you will all need to have a laptop. This, you can get a pretty good one at about $1,000. A lot of people love using the Mac, MacBooks and Apple. We got to say we're finding more resources now to support that. However, Rotman does highly encourage you to use a non-Apple product. Other fees would be the GBC, click please. Although there are set student fees that the GBC kind of covers in events and whatnot and their administration, if you choose to join clubs, and many of our students do, these are wonderful in terms of networking and, you know, career development. Every club has their own fees for their activities, and they can run anywhere from $20 a club to $135 plus other events. And they could be things like the winemaking club or athletics clubs. Two are really big ones are RFA, which is our finance club, and Rama Asset Management. Click, please. There's also some professional development activities that are offered at U of T and at Rotman during your time here. So things like very popular, what we call Marquee workshops. Marquee is just a third-party organization who offers some Excel modeling workshops. We broker this deal, it's 125 and they're fantastic. They usually happen on the weekends or in the evening so that you guys can participate as well. And other kind of certificates that you may wish to do, such as your CSC or your CFA. Those are outside of Rotman. And then as mentioned before, once you get to your electives phase, there may be course materials and textbooks, and they can range anywhere from about 75 to 150. As we are doing more things online and through Quarkus, you know, instructors are encouraged to find online materials for you, but there are occasionally a need to buy some extra material. Please. Finally, a great thing about Rotman is our international exposure. So we have a lot of exchange opportunities, study tours, global practicums. We have a whole set office dedicated to that. It has been put on pause, unfortunately, with everything else with COVID. They've been very creative in trying to do some kind of virtual opportunities there, but we're hoping once we get ramped up again that you know, these will come back and we'll all get an opportunity to travel. Please. So if we're looking at the payment schedule, we know how much that you got to plan for. When do you have to pay it? Invoices available on mid-July, usually around the 15th or later, depending on what day of the week it lands on. September 1st is your payment deadline to register, it's called. The pay to register deadline. What's due then is your fall, what's equal to your fall term fees, about $17,000. Your next term fee, click please, will come either November 30th they're due if you have a government loan such as OSAP, or January 31st. Sorry, that's backwards. I need to fix that before I send it out. It's November 30th for students without OSAP or government loans, and it's January 31st for students with OSAP. And that's because we are trying to match the OSAP disbursement dates. It's a lot of students, not necessarily from Rotman, but for all of U of T, rely on OSAP to make tuition payments. Therefore, they need to have a later date so that they're not getting service charges. Click again. On April 30th of each year, you should be clearing your balance in order to start afresh, to register for the following year, or to graduate in your following year, in your final year. Service charges will begin on the 15th of the month following your payment deadline on any outstanding balance. Service charges at U of T are works out to 90%. It's 1.5% compounded monthly, works out to be 19% annually. So it's a little bit hefty. Beyond these dates, there aren't any payment plans that you need to work out with myself, with the university. A lot of students, that's a common question. If I can only pay so much at this time, it's completely up to you. And we're going to leave it in your capable hands and in your own planning that you can figure out how much that you can pay so that you can still live. Just bearing in mind, much like a credit card, if you're not going to pay down your balance, there will be service charges on top of whatever balance there is. The only time where there's a dead stop that you must clear it will be April 30th of your final year in order to get your diploma. that you work so hard for. Okay, next slide, please. So how to make the payments. Two buckets here. So within Canada, which is most of your program, option one, paying in person at a bank. If anybody is still working into a bank, completely doable for you. Or most likely option two, either by phone banking or online banking. So on your invoice or your account, you will see a U of T account number, which is usually a mix of a few digits of your last name and your student number. You basically use U of T as your payee, and then you enter that as your account number, and the money goes directly to U of T. Click, please. Also an option that U of T introduced a few years ago, for those of you who like to collect points, is to pay by credit card. So either MasterCard or Visa, only at this time. So no Amex, no diner clubs, none like that. And there's a button on Acorn where you can do that. Some people might get confused that when they go to Acorn and look at their invoice, that button is pretty prominent. That's not your only method to do it. So, you know, please, you can do it by online banking if you don't want to charge anything to your credit card. But if you like to rack up the points, you can use this option. There is a service fee for that that's charged by the company. I believe it's 1.75%. Click, please. Option four, which is less used by our students, are these Aeroplan Miles TD Travel Rewards program. It's a broker deal with U of T that if you have these points from your other credit cards, they can be translated into some dollars for your tuition. That would be available through the student accounts page. Next. Now, if you're paying from outside of Canada, I'll run through this quickly just in case there's a few of you overseas or in the US. You can do this by doing in Canadian funds. All the payments must be made in Canadian funds as a bank draft or money order that's payable to the University of Toronto. Usually this is mailed or dropped off to our student accounts office. I would suggest during pandemic time, when the post office isn't as reliable as it used to be or consistent, to not send things by mail. Once we open up again in person, which will be in a few weeks, the student accounts office will be open to see people. The next option will be Western Union Global Pay. So a partnership with Western Union. This option is available again through Acorn. What it does is allow you to get a quote in Canadian dollars to pay in whatever currency your home country is, or whatever currency that you choose. It gives you a quote that's good for I think 72 hours, spits out a report, and you take it to your bank to make the payment, to facilitate the payment. Now, we also suggest, what I haven't put on here, if you're international, is to perhaps open up a Canadian bank account. A lot of our big domestic banks, the RBC, the BMO, CIBC, will allow you to do that overseas, out of the country, for the purpose of transferring money in to pay U of T. So that would be the only reason that you could use the money. And you can do that without landing here first. And then once you arrive in Toronto, you come, you sign the papers, then you get more access to the funds in that account. But that is another way to make a payment from outside of Canada that may be a little bit smoother. Next slide, please. More about making payments. So it's very important that payments are coming from a bank or via Western Union directly to the University of Toronto. It is not coming, click, to Rotman. And if you can click, and it is not done through wire transfer, check, or a cash. I know that wire transfer might have been an option for deposits. It is not a viable option to pay the tuition once it's done. It's a different whole different banking system. Deposits are, paid to Rotman so that you can communicate with us and we can have that relationship with you. But once it gets to the fees, it should come directly to the University of Toronto. Doing so by wire transfer is going to really slow down your payment. It's very manual, and we just do not suggest you do it. We also don't take personal checks. We don't take cash, and please don't show up to my office. Although I would love to see you, I can't take your money. So do use the options that I presented to you directly from your bank to the University of Toronto. We're 2022 now. I know it's cyberspace, but it is the quickest and actually most secure way to do that. Next slide. Now let's get into funding sources, which is another big topic probably on your mind. So keep clicking through if you want, Angela. So here are the bubbles, and one more. Oh, there we go. Here are the bubbles that make up most people's resources when they're coming to U of T and thinking about how to pay for tuition. Now, on top of this, your programs will have your salary. So that I include in your personal funds. So whatever personal savings you might have, or personal relationships, parents, spouse, children, grandparents, that's the first one. Next big one are student loans. So I'll be talking more about student loans on the next slide with our partners, or any other kind of relationship with another bank that you may have. There's also government programs that the morning and evening programs are eligible for. You guys, even though you're designed, the program is designed for working professionals to do at the same time that they work full-time. The program, by definition, is considered a full-time program. So you are eligible for OSAP and the other government aid. Then we have awards, and that's you'll probably have some questions on that. And then more popular with the morning and evening programs would be sponsorship from your employers. Okay, so we'll touch upon each of these a bit in the next few slides. So next, please. So with our professional student loan plan, we are partnered currently with RBC and BMO to offer student loans to cover your tuition for the full program. And for the morning and evening program, the Rotman School will cover your interest. We will be paying the bank directly for your interest during your time here. The interest rates are competitive at prime. They are floating, flexible. They're prime while you're in school and during the grace period, which is, I believe, 2 years after graduation. It's most of the morning and evening students take advantage of this just because there's disbursement from the bank directly to U of T, which is handled through my office. So, there is a step for the students to take that is called submitting their declaration of need each year, but then we kind of take care of it. And as long as, you've been approved for the full amount, which most of our students are, it covers it, and then you're good to go. And then really your interest is covered until you graduate. This is available to our Canadian citizens, our permanent residents, and international students can also access this, but there are more restrictions for more criteria. They do need to have it secured, whereas our domestic students don't have to have it secured because you have the Canadian credit history. Now, if you're not using a loan from RBC or BMO and using another bank because you have that relationship, or if you've tried to apply to them and for some reason were rejected, click please. There's a similar program called the Rotman Interest Subsidy Plan. Again, now you're getting the loan on your own through another bank. But you are responsible for paying your own interest, and then you apply to this. You have to submit documents to us, but then we pay you as a reimbursement for the interest up to prime interest. So unfortunately, if your bank, the other bank is charging more than prime, we will cover up to prime so that you are on par with the students using our PSLP. Okay, next. For international students, aside from RBC and BMO using the secured methods, there's two international organizations called Prodigy Finance and Empower Financing, which also offer international students, international MBA students, some loans. Their terms and their interest rates are slightly higher, but sometimes there's not another option. Or you can go to your home bank, or for our US students, there's FAFSA, which is their government loans. Next, please. So for the, oh, that showed up funny. For our government programs, of course, Canadian and definitely Ontario students will be remembering OSAP from your undergrad days. So that will now is a one-step application for both loans and grants. They consider you for both at the same time. Right now, annually, the maximum that you can get for a single student without a spouse or dependents is about $14,000. And I think it's 16 or 18,000 if you have dependents. And then I believe most amounts over like $6,000 or $7,000, those are waived. It's considered a grant. So your payable when you graduate isn't as high. These open up and fairly early. They are trying to open them earlier and earlier each year. They should be opening soon now for you to start applying and getting a sense of your funding for September start. Again, when you are applying for this, do remember when they're asking, this is a full-time program. It'll change how much you get assessed for. Also part of government funding. If you don't want to take out OSAP this year, or you're not eligible, but you still have OSAP from your undergrad, we know people carry that for a long time. There's this program is eligible for continuation of interest-free status. So just like when you were an undergrad and you had it, you weren't getting interest applied while you were in school, you get to revert back to that when you're in your MBA. Click, please. You can also use your RSPs for those that are financially savvy and have been saving. Through the lifelong learning plan, you or your spouse can take out, I believe, up to $10,000 annually through your bank. That's tax-free for your schooling. It's tax-free when you take it out, and then it's repayable over 10 years. And then so that you can build it up, it's investing in your future. Click, please. And then, as mentioned, our US students have similar programs in FAFSA. Now, OSAP is for Ontario. Other provinces will have their provincial student assistance plan too, BC SAP, Quebec SAPs, same thing. Back to that, it's made up of the Ontario support as well as the federal support, all under one application now. So it's much more streamlined that way. Next, please. All right, let's get into the fun stuff of awards. Here are the big buckets of awards that you can peruse at Rotman that's available for you. So the first big bucket would be the entrance scholarship. So this is administered by our recruitment and admissions team. And there wasn't a separate application for this. So when you apply to the program, they took a look at your profile and they looked over everything. And while they're determining that you are a fantastic candidate for the program, they're considering your eligibility for scholarships. When you get your offer of admissions, you should also be notified at that time if you were allocated an award. Okay, so these are done at admissions and are payable at the beginning of your program, so in your first year only. Also eligible to you is the Ontario Graduate Scholarships, again, because you are considered a full-time program and it's a public program. This is in partnership with the Ontario government, as well as U of T and Rotman. So it combines to make a $15,000 annual award. You have to apply annually. Applications are now open. They close in May, and then you get notified in July. I know it's a very long process, and that's because it's part of the government. We can't zip through it any faster than that. So you're eligible in years 1 and 2 for this. The next set of big awards, it would be your fall first year awards. So at the end of first year, you start applying for Rotman awards. So unlike entrance scholarships where you don't need a separate application. The first year awards you will. So there are a handful of our donor funded awards. We have wonderful alumni, which you'll become. They give back. So they create these awards because they have very specific criteria. We ask for separate application, and these will open up in about late August, September of your first year. After first year, same kind of thing, there'll be more awards to apply for our continuing students, and those are again open in 2 periods, both in May and then again in September. Once you finish your core courses at the end, the middle of year 2, you can become a Rotman Scholar. So what the Rotman Scholar Awards are for our upper year students who have finished the core and now have some wisdom and experience to impart on the first year students. So it's basically a mentorship where you guide students and kind of help them and support them through specific courses. So we make that call for application. It's for academically strong students to support in those specific courses. So in either finance, if that's your strength, or marketing, or economics, etc. There's 3 application periods for this for each of our terms: summer, spring, and fall. Next. Third-party sponsorship. Normally this comes from your employer. So for international students, sometimes their government sponsors them. And this is usually to, develop you professionally so that you can bring it back to your company. We can help facilitate this arrangement by providing letters to your employer or your sponsor, and then helping to make the payment directly from your sponsor to the university, so it doesn't have to flow through you. On our site has instructions on what to do for this and how to get it done. So if you have questions after reading that, by all means, you can contact us. Next. So if you can click through about 4 times there, Angela. So other types of financial aid that are smaller buckets that are available. So we have a conference and case competition subsidy. So a lot of case comps happen at U of T, especially through those clubs I told you about. While most of the ones on site have a very nominal fee, we have some big, exciting international ones pre-COVID that our students like to attend, as well as industry-specific conferences. You do not have to be presenting a paper at those. They could be industry or academic conferences. We do have subsidies to help our students attend those. For the international programs, when you're going off onto an exchange or a study tour or a global practicum, we have subsidies to help you to offset some of those expenses as well. Should you find yourself in an emergency situation that's a short-term acute, you had no idea it was coming, we of course have some emergency bursary to help you bridge that gap and to get you through it. That is usually combined with the School of Graduate Studies, who has some emergency funding and other pots of grants as well. Next. I'm just going to take you through, I'm going to put it all together into your journey. Year 1, you're accepted to Rotman. July 15th, the invoices come out onto Eggcorn. In August, the first year award applications open up. Click through again. September 1st is when you make that first payment, or you arrange it through your PSLP, and your fall OSAP disbursements will also happen. Entrance awards will also be paid. November 30th is your deadline for those without OSAP. I got it right on this slide. And then it's January 31st for those with OSAP. Click through again in May. Oh, you'll go into your second year, which considers May the start of. In May, you'll have applications open for the in-program awards as well as scholars. Click through. Again, we repeat it. So July 15th, the invoices will be available for the following year. More awards open up in August. You pay in September your fall fees. Everybody does that. Your loan disbursements come out. October, you'll get your spring scholar application. So that's a new application cycle. November 30th and January 31st will be your winter term fees due. And then in January to May of your second year is when you can apply for the Ontario Graduate Scholarships, OGS again. Moving into the final, January 31st for your payment. And then moving into your final year of year 3, it looks almost the same. The only difference is on April 30th, that is your absolute hard deadline to clear all your balances in order to graduate and receive your parchment. All right, next slide. So the main takeaways for this: invoices with your confirmed fees are available each year on July 15th. Deadline every year to pay to register to get you into the registered status so that you can access everything student-wise is September 1st. Your big buckets of your sources of funding are loans through PSLP, BMO and RBC, awards, government loans, and third-party sponsorships. Below here is the RO website URL. RO is the registrar's office. This is where all this information lives. Plethora of information, including all your program information and the very exciting policies and rules for your academics. Don't bother writing this down. I'm not sure if you're going to be emailed this deck afterwards. If you ever go to Google, just Google Rotman Registrar. It's the first one that pops up, and you can click through it and take a look through.
We're happy to send this out to everybody after as well.
Yeah, just let me clean it up.
Sounds good. All right, we have a question for you, May. First of all, I mean, thank you very much for taking us through all of that. It's a lot of detail, and I think it's important too to see, you know, how many different buckets you can really pull from in order to pay for your degree. I mean, it's obviously a very important thing to cover. So thank you for that. And then I'm going to hand it over, Runj. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name properly.
No, you pronounced it right, Angela. Don't worry.
Okay.
Hi, May. Thank you so much for the elaborate presentation. I'm just wondering if the program tuition is eligible for the tax credits.
Yes, yeah. So like you mentioned that, because right now I'm up to my eyebrows at kind of making those tax credits up. So yes, definitely, because again, as I said, it's a full-time program and a public program. Every February, you will be getting both a T2202, which is the education and tax credit. And then if you get any awards, including the interest payment through the PSC program, it's reported on the T4A as income, although not taxable when you have your T2202. But yes, it is tax eligible.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions tonight for May or myself or Tara? We were just after our time here. We're a few minutes over. So what I'm going to do is just say thank you very much for coming this evening. I hope that you learned something new that you didn't know before. And we really appreciate you spending the time with us here tonight. What I would say is please consider joining us tomorrow. There's lots of great information. And tomorrow night, like I said, we have the sample class followed by the alumni panel. So we really hope that you will join us for that. In the meantime, thank you very, very much, May. It was so great to see you and your new hair. And I guess we'll see you on campus sometime soon. Have a great evening, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.